And we are live. Welcome to The Hard Count, episode 41. As you guys all know from the title of this episode, the preseason is officially over and wrapped up. And boy, did a lot of stuff go down here this preseason, and even with all the roster cuts that have went down. So before we get into that, let's first do, as the famous Anthony Conover would say, pay the bills. If you're into betting, hit up the mybookie.ag. Use promo code USN100 to double your first deposit, as you can see on the ticker below. If you're not into betting and you want to use some stuff to help out your sore muscles, hit up rxhemp.com. Use code rxhemp-USN for 10% off your order. Now, if you don't want to bet, if you're not into any of the healing stuff, and you just want to shop for our stuff, hit up the teesprings.com/store/unwrapped, where you can find products of all of our shows that we do, whether that's generational sports, whether that's this show, The Hard Count, Backstop Banner, you name it, we have it. And come check out our very own Patreon page. We have a Patreon here for Unwrapped Sports Network. We have 3 different tiers: a $1 tier, $5 tier, and a $10 tier. In that $5 and $10 tier, there is a Discord chat that you get automatically included in. You can talk with us, get some good gambling bets to look forward to. And in the $10 tier, you could have a chance to get an autograph item. In the previous months, we've had an autographed David Montgomery jersey. We've also had a Ricky Williams signed helmet, and we've also had a Keenan Allen jersey. And there'll be a giveaway of something coming soon. We do not know what it is yet, but there will be something on the way. And with all the bills being paid in full, as many of you guys know, I am Matt Skura filling in for Anthony Conover, and I have a great special guest to my right, Mr. Ethan Carboni. Ethan, how are you this fine Tuesday, August 31st, the final day of August?
I'm all right. How are you, Matt? I'm doing good. How are you?
All righty. I am doing fantastic as well on this very fine Tuesday. And with that being said, let's move into some of the topics that have went down here so far this preseason. As many of you guys may know, there's been a big injury that went down for the Baltimore Ravens to running back J.K. Dobbins. If you guys have not heard the news as of late, J.K. Dobbins recently went down with a torn ACL injury, and his season is over. So I ask you simply this question, Ethan. What does this J.K. Dobbins injury mean for the Baltimore Ravens?
It means that Lamar Jackson might have just earned himself a couple extra 100 rushing yards, first off. So that pretty much moves my Lamar Jackson fantasy ranking up a couple quarterbacks. Means Gus Edwards is looking very nice now, being the lead running back aside from Lamar Jackson, who's probably going to be the leading rusher for this team. So to me, it's looking like a lot less triple option and a lot more read option plays for the Ravens.
All right, and I also want to add on with this J.K. Dobbins injury. Will this impact the Baltimore Ravens if they make the playoffs? Like, could this possibly be an injury that we look at and possibly say, man, if J.K. Dobbins wasn't injured, the Baltimore Ravens could have really made a deep run in this playoffs? Or is it just simply one of those injuries where it's like, all right, next man up, Lamar, what you got?
Yeah, I think it's more of that, just because I personally value running backs the same as Gordon Ramsay values ketchup.
Ooh,
I don't think running backs are that valuable in the NFL. I think that they're valuable in the regular season, and that's about it. They're not helping you win playoff games. We've seen that stat for the past 15 years. I think there's been one team that had a running back making $5 million or more. You're not getting these top-tier running backs rushing for 200 yards a game in the Super Bowl, getting paid $10 million to do it. No, you're getting some lesser running backs that do the job because that's all they need to do. All you need is a guy to be filler. I think Gus Edwards is perfect for that. I think in reality, you don't need a star running back to win games. I think we've seen that with the Patriots dynasty.
You definitely make some compelling points there. I would also have to say what this means for the Ravens is Lamar Jackson has to play well. Obviously, we've seen the last couple of seasons, Lamar Jackson has elevated his game to an all-time level. He's won an MVP, finally won a playoff game last year. He finally has that monkey off his back of not being able to win a playoff game. I think with this J.K. Dobbins injury, I think it's going to try and, in a way, I hope it shows that Lamar Jackson tries to pass the ball more. I know the Ravens are more of like a run-centric, run-heavy kind of team just because the way how Lamar Jackson is, the way how the team is built. But I just say hopefully with this injury, granted, it's tough for the Baltimore Ravens because you have J.K. Dobbins. He really kind of, in a way, replaced Mark Ingram. I mean, that's why Mark Ingram is with the Houston Texans, not with the Baltimore Ravens, because J.K. Dobbins was the better running back, and he clearly took a spot. It's just tough to see, especially when there was a lot of hype for J.K. Dobbins this season, whether that be for fantasy football purposes and him being selected high, or whether it's this season and him finally getting that starting running back touches. I think it's hard for the Baltimore Ravens, but I will say I don't think this affects the Baltimore Ravens in the long run. I still think the Baltimore Ravens are going to be one of those teams who are going to be a division favorite for the AFC North. Granted, the Cleveland Browns are still a great team, and you can never sleep on the Steelers regardless of what they have just because of Mike Tomlin as their head coach. But I just think for the Baltimore Ravens, it's not about, what you do in the regular season. We know you're going to be a good team. It's kind of what you're going to do in the playoffs. And I just hope that with this J.K. Dobbins injury, other players step up. Like you mentioned, Ethan, with Gus Edwards now being that number one back, he's going to have to fulfill that role and make sure that he fills his expectations. Because if it's one of those to where Gus Edwards, if he doesn't perform well, the Baltimore Ravens could be in a lot of trouble because they love to rely on the run. They're, like I mentioned earlier, they are a run-based team. That's their bread and butter. The bread and butter is running the football. And if Gus Edwards can't get the job done running the ball well, the Baltimore Ravens could struggle. Now, I'm going to be on the bright side. I don't think they will struggle. You got John Harbaugh, who's been a solid head coach. You got Lamar Jackson. He's proven to be an MVP quarterback. I believe he's gotten paid like one too. So I personally think with this injury, I just hope I see Lamar Jackson in a way improve his passing game because it's starting to get to a point now where you're starting to run out of excuses for Lamar Jackson. You can't say it's because of defense. The defense is always solid and always in the top 10. The excuse in the past was he doesn't have any other weapons besides Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. Well, they just drafted receiver Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota, one of the top receivers in the draft. So he has that. He has the defense. And he has some solid running backs in Gus Edwards. So with this J.K. Dobbins injury, granted, it's tough. It's a hard injury. We don't like to see that, especially from a running back perspective. I mean, when you tear your ACL as a running back, it's very hard to come back from. Granted, unless if you're prime AP, where the next year you just rush for over 2,000 yards, it's very hard to do. So, I mean, for J.K. Dobbins, we hope for a speedy recovery for next season. But for this year, the Ravens have to make sure that they can pass the ball well because defenses are going to really hone in on stopping the run. You know what I mean? Like contain Lamar Jackson, contain Gus Edwards. But they're gonna have to make sure to pass well because if they can't pass well, the Baltimore Ravens are going to be in big trouble, especially when you have to play teams like the Cleveland Browns twice a year and the Kansas City Chiefs. Both are going to be teams that will be in the playoffs and vie for the Super Bowl. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Baltimore Ravens will look in those games. And I, in a way, am going to kind of pay attention to those games that the Ravens play because you don't have Dobbins. If you verse the Bengals or the Dolphins or the Jets, yeah, you're going to beat those teams easily. You're the Baltimore Ravens. But how are you going to be without your top-tier back when you got to play those playoff teams? When you got to play Green Bay later in the season at home, when you got to play the Browns twice a year, when you got to play the Kansas City Chiefs, how are you going to look against formidable teams?
Did you just call him a top-tier back?
Did I call who a top-tier back?
Did you really just call J.K. Dobbins a top-tier running back?
No, not a top tier running back. Just for the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens is their top tier running back. No, J.K. Dobbins hasn't proven to be a top tier back yet. Maybe he could get there one day, but for right now, he's the Ravens top tier back.
All right, thank you for specifying, because I was gonna say, Matt, I like a lot of your opinions, but I'm gonna have to slow you down right there.
Yeah, no, I'm not too crazy. Granted, I say a lot of wild things, but that is one thing I will not go on a limb and say. But yeah, overall, just for the Baltimore Ravens, I just want to see how they look against formidable playoff teams without their top tier back. Because we've seen teams, if they lose their top guy, they either fall off a cliff and they're irrelevant, or they kind of stay afloat. I just want to see if the Baltimore Ravens could stay afloat, because if they can stay afloat, they could be one of those sleeper teams to maybe go on a run for the playoffs.
Lamar needs to improve his passing for me. Also, I want to see what Sammy Watkins will do for him, because Watkins is the guy that in the Unwrapped Fantasy League that you're in for me, in the NFL Deep Dive one, Watkins is a free agent. So here's my question: does Watkins have that beautiful week 1 and actually continue, or can Lamar just not pass him the ball like Mahomes was able to?
Well, I just think it'll be very interesting, because Sammy Watkins, he's been on quite a journey, going from Buffalo to the Rams. He had, like you mentioned, the prime week 1 with Kansas City. The thing that I will say about that is it's another weapon for Lamar Jackson. I just look at that and say he has his players, he has receivers, he has a defense. Granted, J.K. Dobbins got hurt, but he has a solid back in Gus Edwards. I think this is going to be a season to where we have to see what really Lamar Jackson can do, just from himself as a whole. We've seen him win the MVP award, which is fantastic. But what did he do after he won MVP? He was bounced in the first round of the playoffs. His first playoff game, he wet the bed. He was horrible. Now he has a playoff win under his belt. Now it's the next step. Because in my opinion, like, how did you see great QBs like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers? How did they elevate? They started off first by making the playoffs. Then they won a playoff game. And then eventually they elevated into a deep playoff run. And then they take the next deep playoff run into a Super Bowl run and a Super Bowl championship. Lamar Jackson so far has 2 hurdles down. He's got a playoff appearance down, and he's got a playoff win down. Now it's all about, can he get to that next step? Can he get to the step of making a deep playoff run? Because that's really all the Baltimore Ravens are missing. The only thing that they're missing is that deep playoff run. And for the viewers out there, but what I mean by a definition of a deep playoff run is, what I mean by that is a championship game appearance or Super Bowl appearance. That's a definition of a deep playoff run, because teams can make it to the division round if you have a first round bye. You won't have to go through a wild card. What makes the definition of a deep playoff run is if you're in the Final Four. That's a definition of a deep playoff run. And that's, I think, what Lamar Jackson is missing. He's missing that deep playoff run. And then a Super Bowl he's also missing as well. But I just want to see what he can do with the weapons that he has. Because now we're starting to run out of excuses. Because in my honest opinion, from Lamar Jackson's rookie year to now, we give him a pass his rookie year because it's his rookie year. You can't expect him to win a playoff game, his rookie season when he just got in. We can give him a pass there. 2019, you kind of had a hammering on him because, you won MVP and you played horribly against the Tennessee Titans. That really, you couldn't have that happen. That was a bad performance. And then what went down last year, and you played against Buffalo, that was another kind of one of those where you finally won a playoff game, but against Buffalo, you kind of let it slip a little bit, for being quite honest, because you were driving it down the field to tie the game, and you throw a pick six. That kind of has to leave a sting in your mouth a little bit. Now you go into this year, you're in your 4th year, entering year 5. You've already won an MVP. I believe he's also gotten his bag too. He's gotten his money paid. So now it's all about, all right, now take the next step. Now win 2 playoff games, make it to the championship game. Because It's not going to be easy for the AFC because the AFC, as you know, Ethan, has gotten a lot harder than it has been in years past. In years past, it was just basically New England ruling everybody. But now the AFC this time around, it's wide open. You got the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. You got the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. You got the Cleveland Browns on the rise in your division. You also got the Baltimore Ravens on the rise in that division. And then you also got, the Tennessee Titans, who they recently got Julio Jones, and you got the Indianapolis Colts. You got a lot of teams wide open. Even the Los Angeles Chargers are a team you can't sleep on. So if you're the Ravens, you kind of have to look at it from a perspective of how are you going to separate yourselves from the pack? How are you going to be different from everybody else? How are you going to beat Kansas City? Because Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes pretty much owns Lamar Jackson. He's got rent-free anything that Lamar Jackson has. You got to give partial ownership to Pat Mahomes because he's dominated him every time they play. So it's all about how are you going to do that in the playoffs? How is Lamar Jackson going to finally get over the hump? Because we've also seen with Peyton Manning, it took him a while to get over the Brady hump because Tom Brady ran into him early in his career. They beat up the Colts a lot. But when Manning finally got over the hump, he finally got the job done. For Lamar Jackson this year, how is he going to get over the hump? Can he finally elevate his game to Patrick Mahomes' level? Because Lamar Jackson is almost there. He's almost at his level. He's not quite there. But if he can get the passing game that I think he can improve upon this season, he has a good chance to. And if the Baltimore Ravens could make a playoff run to the championship game, a lot of people are going to be looking at Lamar Jackson a lot differently because as you've also heard on this show in the past, the great Anthony Conover always says Lamar Jackson has reached his peak. His peak is finished because he's won an MVP. But I, on the other hand, think his peak is not quite done yet. If he could elevate his passing game and lead the Ravens on a deep playoff run, his peak could reach even higher than it already is at this point. And with that being said, let's move on to some of the biggest takeaways from the preseason. Ethan, as you know, a lot of things went down in the preseason. We've seen a lot of young QBs play well. We've seen young draft picks play good. But in all honesty, what are some of the main takeaways that you have gotten so far this preseason?
Well, first off, I just want to shout out former Illinois corner Nate Hobbs, who's the highest non-first-rounded grade defender. So that's pretty nice. According to PFF, he's the highest grade non-first-round defender. So I think that's great to see from a former Illinois player. But my key takeaways from this is don't start your starters unless they're a rookie. There's no point. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. If you already have your starter set and he's not a rookie, don't play him. Maybe play him for one series just to get the offense acclimated. That's it.
Not even that. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's it. Dobbins gets injured in the first quarter. It's pathetic. Like, if you're really risking these guys for a game that doesn't even count, besides, I want to keep my 20-game win streak in the preseason, doesn't mean anything. Then my last takeaway, I don't want to sound like Garrett here, but it's incredible to see how many XFL guys are actually, like, in the NFL. Like, Donald Parham, he was in there last year, but now he's going to be, like, the starting guy, it seems, or at least going to have a good chance at earning it for the Chargers, especially being a 6'7" tight end. You have offensive tackle making the Chargers as well. You have long snappers making it. You have Tyree Jackson, if you remember, the 6'7" quarterback. He converted to tight end. He's on the Eagles now. You have just a lot of people. You have Heineke, who's potentially going to take over the starting quarterback job for the Washington football team. Like, the fact that we're seeing 10 to 20 former XFL guys making it, it's actually showing there might be a different route to the NFL than just after your first year out of college.
It definitely is. Those are a lot of great options there. Some of the main takeaways that I've gotten from the preseason is just how impressive some of these rookie quarterbacks have been. Like I'm also kind of surprised you didn't mention your boy down in Chicago, Ethan, Mr. Justin Fields. Justin Fields, he looks like the real deal for the Chicago Bears. And I think the Bears, if Justin Fields can keep on playing well like he has been, I really do believe the Bears could have a bright future. They could finally have their QB, have their guy. Now, do I personally think he'll be the week 1 starter? No, I don't. I don't think he'll be a week 1 starter, as you see in the comment section. My father, what's up, father? And I also want to throw out there with Justin Fields. He showed a lot of great flashes. Like I saw when he was playing the Miami Dolphins in preseason, there were a lot of good flashes of Justin Fields. You saw him scramble around. You saw him run it in for a touchdown. You see him make the big throws. I will say what did kind of scare me and scare Bears fans is when he had the hard hit against the Bills and the helmet fell off. Ethan probably had scary flashbacks, like his life flashed before his eyes whenever that happened. But I'm also excited to see what Justin Fields can bring to the table whenever he is the starter, whether that's week 4. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Matt Nagy says, Sunday night, I'm going to say, F it, let's throw in Justin Fields week 1. He could throw that route. But I personally think it'll be later on in the season. I was also impressed with what I saw out of Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, the preseason that he played, he was solid. He had some fantastic numbers, especially when he played against the Green Bay Packers. I believe he had a halftime stat line. He was like 9 for 11, 128 yards, and like a touchdown pass. He looked solid in the preseason. I too believe that he could be solid for the Jets. I do believe they could have a chance to win more than 2 games next year with Zach Wilson at the helm, and especially with Robert Saleh as a head coach. I also, a main takeaway that I saw, and what a perfect time to discuss this with none other than the Hard Count co-host, Mr. CJ James. What's going on, CJ?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
That's good.
And you just got in just in time, CJ. But before I get into one of the main players, my biggest takeaways so far this preseason, I kind of want to throw in what we mentioned earlier. CJ, we mentioned earlier the J.K. Dobbins injury and what this means for the Baltimore Ravens. I kind of want to hear from your perspective. With J.K. Dobbins out for the whole season, how will this affect the Ravens? Like, could this potentially affect them on a deep playoff run, or will it just simply be one of those, well, we lost Dobbins, Gus Edwards, time to step up?
Yeah, it's a big loss. I'm pretty sure they expected a lot out of him this season. Had a pretty good rookie season last year. So, you lose him in the preseason game, the game right before the regular season starts. It's unfortunate. But it's the Ravens' identity. They've always run the ball. It doesn't matter who's in the backfield. So, yeah, definitely looking for Gus Edwards to step up and play that role. He does pretty good when it's a running back duo. And, of course, with Lamar, you could say it's a trio because he rushed for 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons. So, that's always going to help with Lamar being such a dual threat. Coming out being under center, so it's going to still open up some opportunities for him to get a lot of yards. I feel like they should try to get a running back. Maybe they might do so. There's a couple guys that just got cut today before the 4 p.m. deadline that could potentially latch on and sign with the Ravens. So I think it's a possibility. It's a tough loss, but he'll be back next year, and then they'll continue to be that dominant running game that they are. And I feel like it's going to take a hit a little bit, because he could also catch the ball out the backfield, something that's underrated out of his game. But I think they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. And as Connie is in the comment section, the gang.
Yes, sir.
Hey, don't worry, you'll get there. And then CJ, which then kind of brings into my next topic. One of my main takeaways of the preseason was Mr. Mac Daddy, Mac 10. The man lit up preseason, and like Anthony mentioned, which we'll get to later on, the QB1s of the NFL season, Mack Jones, as you guys know, is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Cam Newton was released as a result of it, which we will discuss later on in the episode. I was just impressed with how professional Mack Jones looked, and that was even from the first preseason game that I saw. he seemed to be well poised. He seemed to make the great throws. Even I remember the first preseason game, he had a perfect throw to receiver. Granted, it was dropped. It was dropped in his hands. But I just simply think, from a perspective of just how professional he looked, I was just impressed, and he really won out there. It also didn't help that Cam Newton was out for 5 days. I just think that further helped Mack Jones. Those were kind of my biggest takeaways from the preseason, just how impressive the rookie QBs were. I kind of want to hear from you, CJ. What were your main takeaways from this preseason?
Yeah, he was. I thought he played well. I tweeted out in November the Patriots should try to get him. I think after like a 5-touchdown game he had on a Saturday night when he was at Alabama, I feel like he fit the skill set. He fit the playing style that New England has, drop back passer, make the right reads, okay with checking it down, okay with having long drives, not forcing it too much. He fits New England's identity. That's what they've been doing for the last 20 years prior to last year. When Tom left and went to Tampa Bay, and they switched it up a little bit, bringing in Cam, try to, what a different playing style, because he has a different skill set. I think now bringing Mack in, he goes back to that form. That's something that Bill is comfortable with. That's something now McDaniels is definitely more comfortable calling certain plays because he knows he has that type of quarterback back there under center. So I think it was he played well. He was poised. He wasn't rattled. Made the right reads. It was a couple passes deep down the field that he could potentially have had touchdowns for. Receivers didn't make the plays for him, but that's a part of the game. He wasn't really playing with the starters per se. Wasn't playing with the starting offensive line. Wasn't playing with the dual tight ends, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Really just Mondre. Didn't really hand it off to Damian Harris. So I think he did a pretty good job with the team he had around him during those series that he was out there. I think just a little bit of critique, holding on to the ball a little bit too long. You look at that game against the Giants on those last 2 drives, he held the ball a little bit too long, ended up getting sacked there. Just want to make a quicker read. There's nothing wrong with throwing it away, living with another drive or taking the field goal, depending on where you're at on the field. So little things he could work on. But I was definitely impressed with how he played. I watched almost every snap if I could catch a game. So I'm excited for what New England has, and we'll see what happens during the season.
I'm definitely excited as well. Were there any other takeaways from preseason for you, CJ, besides Mack Jones just thoroughly dominating and earning the QB1 spot for the New England Patriots?
I was impressed by all the quarterbacks, to be honest. I think they all showed flashes of potential upside. You look at Trey Lance, he struggled a little bit in the first game and really picked it up in the second and third game, showing how well he could pass the ball in the pocket. He could work on the touch a little bit. He kind of has a one speed throw, but that works with time. Remember, he only played 1 game in almost 2 years, because he only had that one little showcase game when he was at North Dakota State last year. So that's going to come with time. You see the read option, that's going to be scary. With Trey Sermon, Mostert out the backfield. That's going to be tough to stop in that read option, especially in that division. They want to run the ball. Kyle Shanahan wants to run the ball. He has some of the most complex running plays in the NFL. So I think it worked out for the 49ers, and getting up and getting Trey Lance. It's just up to him to continue to improve as a drop back passer, which I think he will. Justin Fields, I feel like it's time. I understand Andy Dalton, they crowned him QB1. In a sense, I understand maybe the team is not to where they need to be, where you want to throw him out there and kind of, get killed. They do have some solid pieces around him. David Montgomery, I think Tariq Cohen should be coming back soon. I don't know if I think he might be on the PUP list, so he may come back in the week 6 or week 7. So that may take some time. He's definitely a weapon that they could use out the backfield, catching the football, return. So he's a dynamic player. And Cole Kmet at the tight end position, and of course, Allen Robinson, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. So I think they're going to be good too. I like Justin Fields. I like the fits that all these teams. Zach Wilson looks great too. Looks great. A lot of people saying he's too small. I heard a couple reports trying to compare him to Manziel. It was just a lot of comical critiques of Zach. And he went out there rolling out the pocket, made some great plays. He has a guy like Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, as you know, over there in Green Bay. They're going to do some similar things over there. and try to get him out the pocket. They're going to try to run the ball first, use the play action, make sure to lose his legs, rolling out, and throwing the ball down the field to guys like Corey Davis. So I like the spots. Trevor Lawrence looked great too. I was impressed with all the quarterbacks. Receivers, it was a little underwhelming. I thought I would see a little bit more out of Chase. I thought I'd see a little bit more out of I'll throw Kyle Pitts in there. He's kind of a receiving tight end, not really a blocking tight end. Didn't really see Kyle Pitts too much. I guess they were keeping him close to the vest for week 1, I guess. But maybe he was hurt. I'm not sure. But wasn't too. Oh yeah, the receiving core was a little underwhelming. But I think all the quarterbacks, from steps by step, from training camp to preseason now as we're going into the regular season, I think they played pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely have some great points there. And to answer your question, Anthony, it's a rumor. There's a rumor that
I didn't know that.
It's not official. This was as of a day or two ago. He hasn't officially signed with the Ravens yet, but they've thrown in names like LaShawn McCoy as well, Le'Veon Bell. They'll throw it in as well.
And
even Todd Gurley as well. It's not official. Now, could we maybe see it in the next couple of days? Perhaps. But there's just rumors that are going on right now, and Mack Jones definitely did earn that QB1 spot in New England, and I think it's going to be exciting to see in a way kind of what happens there. And from the biggest takeaways of the preseason, let's move on to some division predictions. As many of you guys know, in this hard count show, we've done episodes on where we predict some of the division winners and some of the other stuff that happened, throughout then as CJ had to dip out for a quick second. I kind of want to throw this out to you, Ethan. What are, in a way, your division predictions? Let's start off with the AFC. In the North, the East, the South, and the West, what are kind of your main division winners? Like who do you have winning the AFC North to start off with?
AFC North, that's kind of tough. I'm probably going to have to go to the Browns just because I feel the Browns have probably the second best defense in that division, only behind the Steelers. Although the Ravens are also good, I just feel like the Browns have a more dominant running attack, especially with the Ravens losing their running back and the Browns having 2 quality running backs in their backfield as opposed to just one. And now that one's gone for the Ravens, I'll give it to the Browns. I think the Browns get more regular season success, although I think the Ravens would be better than in the playoffs. For the AFC East, you go.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go one at a time. AFC North, then East, then South, then West. If that's all right with you guys. I'll throw out that same thing to you, CJ. In the AFC North, who do you believe will be the winner of that division?
It's gonna be they're gonna all beat each other up. I'll say that. I think all 4 teams have a lot of talent. I'm gonna go with Cleveland. I think coming off last year, going 11-5. Like Ethan just alluded to, they have the running backs in the backfield. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, dominant guys. Like I said, Kareem Hunt. I mean, a couple years ago, he was a top 5 running back in the NFL. No question. So that's scary to have him and Chubb. And now Chubb is a top 5 running back in the NFL. So now you got 2 guys that can easily be RB1s in your backfield. Baker's going to improve. I think I like the way he played in that second half of the season and lead to them going to the playoffs, getting that first W against the Steelers in the wild card round. The Ravens, like I said, it's a tough loss with J.K. Dobbins. It's just to see what the wide receivers look like. Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman is still hurt with the groin, if I'm not mistaken. Sammy Watkins coming over there now. Pretty sure he has a lot to prove. See if he could try to get himself back into a potentially wide receiver 1 status back when he was over at Buffalo. You could try to revive that and try to make some plays for the Ravens. He's going to need those guys on the outside to step up because we already know teams are going to try to load up the box, try to stop the run. So if you can have some dominant guys on the outside, it just makes that offense so dynamic. If you try to play man, Lamar's going to just run past everybody and try to touch the pylon. So they're going to be right there, 10 wins, just because of their style. Their style is tough to stop. I mean, they hold the ball, they keep the ball for a long time. They don't make a lot of mistakes. People say what they want about Lamar. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So whether it's fumbles or interceptions. So I think that's something that's always going to be a formula for success for Baltimore and Steelers. It's kind of up in the air, really. I mean, Big Ben played well for the first, 10 games last year, and then kind of fell off a little bit. I'm going 1-5 to finish the season, and then ultimately losing to Cleveland, like I talked about earlier. What's he going to look like? What's that offensive line going to look like? They've lost a couple guys. Pouncey retired. I think Villanueva's on the Ravens now. So they're bringing some new guys on that front offensive line to try to protect Big Ben and also try to run the ball. Bringing in Najee Harris, one of the top rated backs coming out of college last year. So that's just a lot of questions over there. Who's gonna be that number one guy in terms of receiver position? Is Claypool gonna take that next step? Is Juju gonna have a bounce back season? Even though he played solid, but he's gonna have a wide receiver one type season, so he can try to get the bag next year in the offseason. They got Deontay Johnson as well. So they got some weapons. The defense is going to be good as well. So I think those are the top three teams, and I just think for the Bengals, it's just keeping Burrow healthy for 16, 17 games. That should be the primary goal, keeping him healthy the whole season, and so they could see what they could work with and how else they could build the team around him. That's the best thing. Playing 6 games, you can't see a lot. I mean, you could see some things. You obviously see the potential and you see how great he can be. But keeping him upright, keeping him in the pocket, they're going to make some of those games in that division very competitive. So, like I said, there's going to be a battle. I think the AFC North and the NFC West probably two of the most competitive divisions in the NFL, no question. But I think with Cleveland, with the weapons that they have, I think Cleveland's top 3 roster in the NFL. Just on both sides of the football, the weapons that they have. I didn't even talk about Odell coming back, Jarvis. They still got the 2 tight ends in Njoku and Austin Hooper. And then defensively, they're stout too. That secondary looks a lot better, much improved from last year, bringing in a couple guys. So I'm gonna go with Cleveland, maybe by a game, and then Baltimore, Steelers, and then I think rounded out for the 4th seed, but still competitive. I think I'll go with Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was also a great point mentioned in the comments. Got to protect Big Ben. I feel like that's the same thing with almost any quarterback as well. You have to have a big protection. I'm gonna go off the grid. I'm gonna go a little opposite. I still think. Even though J.K. Dobbins is hurt, I still think the Ravens got this division. But it's a close first and second between the Browns and the Ravens. I just think whenever it's the last game of the season, whenever the Ravens have to play the Browns, I just simply think it's going to be whoever has the better head-to-head. If it's the Browns that sweep the Ravens, then so be it. If it's simply the Ravens sweep them, so be it. But if it's split and split, whoever wins that second game is going to be key. It's going to be the key to win that division. And I personally believe it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. And I just think John Harbaugh, with his experience, I think he's going to find a way to muscle through the Ravens this season. Just because, yeah, you lose Dobbins, but you still have Gus Edwards. You're in the rumors. If you don't think Gus Edwards is a guy, you're in the rumors for Le'Veon Bell or LaShawn McCoy. And couldn't you imagine how sweet it would be for Le'Veon Bell if he were to sign with the Baltimore Ravens and have a chance to seek revenge, not only against the Steelers twice a year, but to help propel the Ravens to first in that division? How sweet would that be for Le'Veon Bell? I think it would be impressive. Now, it's not official that he signed with the Ravens, but it's a possibility, so we'll have to see what happens there. I kind of agree with you as well, CJ. The rest kind of follows, whether that's the Browns first, Ravens second, or vice versa, Steelers in third, and then Bengals fourth. I just think for the Bengals, just keep them upright like you mentioned, CJ. And I also want to throw in for the Bengals, Jamar Chase better pick his play up, because in the preseason, that boy did not look good. And when you could have had Penei Sewell at the 5th pick, it's just all looking back on, if you're the Bengals, Jamar Chase, you need to step up in the regular season. We need to see you and Joe Burrow like in college when you guys were going off, having the best season in LSU history. We need that side. We can't have you dropping easy gimme passes. That just can't happen, especially when you're the 5th pick. It's not like you're a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. You're the 5th pick in this year's draft, and you're dropping easy gimme passes. There's no excuses. He has to turn it around this regular season. And Joe Burrow has to be healthy from the offensive line, or else if you're the Bengals, you're back to square one, and that's the Bengals being the Bengals. Let's move on to the next division, the AFC East. A lot of stuff has gone down in the AFC East. As you guys know, Mack 10, the starter for the Patriots. Buffalo Bills are now in the class with the Chiefs in the AFC. Dolphins have Tua Tagovailoa, and the New York Jets have Zach Wilson. I'll then throw it out to you, CJ, in the AFC East. You're a big Patriots fan. Do you think they got the division, or do you think it's going to be the Bills or some other team?
So I'll start with, I think the division, man. I mean, it looks promising. It looks very promising for the foreseeable future. Josh Allen, 25. He's the oldest starting quarterback in the division at 25. So it's pretty crazy, especially considering 2 years ago, it was just Brady and a bunch of revolving doors at quarterback from the other teams. So I think now Josh Allen, coming off a 13-3 season. Buffalo had a great year last year. Him and his connection with Stephon Diggs was best in the league. It probably put it up there with Rodgers and Tay, of course. And I think it was pretty dominant. It was pretty dominant. Now just that's their first year together. They're in a pandemic season, so now we see them in actual practice time, actual reps, being able to go out there and make plays is going to be very scary. Cole Beasley, all-pro guy. We'll see what goes on with him in the situation with the vaccination and COVID and things like that. So if he could come back, he's obviously dominant in the slot. I think that's a very, very great offense. Running backs, they got a couple guys between Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. I believe they still have Matt Breida. I haven't checked the cuts for them yet. But they look good. They look good. Defensively, they look good as well. Secondary is solid. Front seven seems to be improved as well. So, but, I'm biased. I'm biased, man. So, I'm going to go with my guys, of course. I think we had an excellent offseason. Getting our leader in the front seven, Dante Hightower back, getting Kyle Van Noy back from Miami, stealing him really. I mean, Miami just let him go, and we got him back for bare minimum. Secondary, losing Gilmore till week 7 is tough, no doubt about it. Let's should see what Sean Wade does out of Ohio State, rookie. Just got him got a couple days ago, and from Baltimore. So I should see how he plays. J.C. Jackson coming off the best season of his career, second in the league with interceptions. So I think defensively they're right back there where they need to be. Front seven looks good. Have a multitude of linebackers and pass rushers that could definitely get to the quarterback. And then offensively, man, like I said, I believe in Mack. I feel like Mack was the perfect fit for New England, like I said, since November. So I think it's a good fit. The receiving core still have a little bit of questions about. Kendrick Bourne has some solid plays here and there. N'Keal Harry still week to week with the shoulder injury. Didn't really get to see a lot of Nelson Aguilar either. So I want to see how they play, how he develops some type of chemistry with those guys on the outside. But they're going to be a predominantly running football team. Damian Harris, James White, Ramondre Stevenson. Those are going to be the trio backfield for them, and then work off that run game and do some play action. It's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be close. Look at Miami. I know all the talks about Deshaun and potentially being a guy that they're looking at. Obviously, you can't go wrong. I mean, if you have opportunity to get Deshaun, and despite what's going on, if that situation clears up and they get some more facts out, and he's able to play either this year or next year, you got to try to get a shot at him for these teams that need a quarterback. So I understand Miami's point, even though Tua is still very young. I think Tua still remains to be seen what he could do. I think this year is a good year for him to prove that and show that. If not with Miami, it could be with another team down the road. So I think they're going to be really good as well. It's going to be competitive. And Zach Wilson, it's kind of like the same thing with Joe Burrow. Just keep him healthy. What I'm saying? I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games, but they're going to be exciting to watch. I'll definitely be tuned in. Living in New York, of course. We get all the Jets and Giants games, so I'll be tuned in to see how he plays. Even though, despite I'm a rival fan, but I like his play. I like the way he plays. He kind of has that backyard football feel, and he can make plays in the pocket. So it's going to be an exciting season. It's going to be, to me, it's going to be between Buffalo and New England. And of course, I'm gonna go with my guys. So
definitely some great points. So you make a good case for the Patriots. I'll then throw out that same question to you, Ethan. For the NFC East, a quick division prediction. Who do you think has this division?
I think it's clearly Buffalo. I think CJ, obviously you mentioned you have the bias, but like,
Yeah.
how could you choose any team but a top 5 defense, a top 5 quarterback, and a top 5 wide receiver, whereas the only other team in that division that has any of those is a top 5 defense in New England. None of them have a top 5 quarterback. None of them even have a top 15 quarterback.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you can go with anyone but the Buffalo Bills here. I don't think any team besides maybe Miami scrapes double digits. I think that this is a poor division, and I think it's Buffalo's turn to start kicking the hell out of every other team.
You definitely make some great points. Great points, Ethan. CJ, you make some great compelling arguments for the Patriots as well. I'm going to side with the Buffalo Bills. I just simply think the Buffalo Bills this season are more of a built better team. I just think if you compare the two teams, the Bills and the Patriots, which in my opinion are going to be the two teams that are going to be competing in the AFC East. I honestly believe the Dolphins are overrated. They're going to be one of those teams that are going to be hyped up all talk during the season, and then they just fall flat on their face back to square one. As much as I would love to say the New England Patriots, the kind of season that Josh Allen had and the way how Stephon Diggs performed this year, I just think it was honestly impressive, and I think the Buffalo Bills keep it up. But don't be shocked if the Patriots keep stride for stride with them, because I personally think it will. As Ethan goes out for a hot second, as his Wi-Fi went out. But to follow off my point of the Buffalo Bills, I just think they're the better equipped team now. I think they're better equipped to win the division right now. Could the Patriots win the division in the future? Absolutely. I think they have the capabilities to get back to their old dynasty ways. But I just simply think for right now, just the way how both teams are built, I think the Buffalo Bills are set and ready now, especially after they make it to the AFC Championship game. Now they know that, hey, we could actually do this thing. Like, we have the team and the capabilities to do it. So I just think from that standpoint, I think for now, the Buffalo Bills, I think they'll go back to back. But I also wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots go on and win this division as well. But I do believe for the Patriots, it's all on Mack Jones. He's a QB1 now because Bill Belichick believes in this guy and believes in the kid. If the kid can do well, by all means, he might be the front runner for Rookie of the Year. I know a lot of people are talking about Sunshine and Trevor Lawrence. But if Mack Jones could find a way to lead the Patriots to the AFC East division crown, you have to crown him as Rookie of the Year. There's no other question about it. With that being said, I'm gonna do a quick raffle on two quick divisions, AFC South, AFC West. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. Who do you believe will win the AFC South?
Man, I'm gonna still say the Colts. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close between Indianapolis and Tennessee. But I feel like they have a really good team over there collectively. Just not too sure about Tennessee's defense. We'll see how they've improved. That was something that they struggled with last year. Bringing in Julio, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, can't go wrong with that. Ryan Tannehill, dual threat quarterback. That's going to work. They're going to put up some good. They're going to put up some points, no doubt about it. But you got to be able to stop some teams as well. So I'm interested to see what Mike Vrabel does this season in terms of defensive schemes, seeing what guys can step up over there. But I think right now, I feel like the Colts have a more complete team, and it looks like they got a couple guys that it could be Wentz, it could be Ellinger, it could be Eason. Any one of those three guys. I feel like with the way that team is built, they want to run the ball, they want to get the rock to Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, and so they want to run that rock and be physical. And I think just work off the quarterback making plays. Carson Wentz, she got the foot, then got COVID. It's just I've said it, he has like the worst luck, no pun intended, ever as a starting quarterback. So it's like anytime you get some type of buzz, something just happens. So hopefully he can stay healthy for all 16. So we could see how him and Frank Reich look as a quarterback head coach duo. But I'm still going to go Indianapolis, despite that question on the center. Just feel like they have a more complete roster.
I personally 100% agree with you as well. I believe it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. I just feel like they have the better, well-prepared, well-coached team. I mean, I just think, with the Tennessee Titans, the biggest question mark is that defense. Their defense was atrocious last year, and I honestly don't see any improvements that they made because you had Jadeveon Clowney last year. He barely made an impact. He's gone, and he's on the Cleveland Browns. And then you also had, I believe, Adoree Jackson, and he's gone with the New York Giants. And you just kind of look at that defense, and it's just what's up with this? We know your offense is loaded. You got King Henry, Mr. rushing for over 2,000 yards. You got A.J. Brown. You got Julio Jones in the offseason. And you have Tannehill, who's been a consistent quarterback ever since he's gotten to Tennessee. He's been in that top 15 quarterback category and really living up to the hype that he had out of the draft. But it's all about that Tennessee Titans defense. And that's what I believe the difference will be. I think the difference will be both teams in their defense. And I believe in the Colts defense more than I do the Tennessee Titans defense, and that's why I have the Colts win the division, just like you, CJ. And then I'll throw in the last division, the AFC West. I think you and I could both agree on this one. I believe it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs that win the division. I mean, just look at the dominant run that they've been on the last 3 years. 3 straight AFC championship appearances, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances the last 2 years, winning a Super Bowl in between those. They really haven't put their foot off the gas. They've pretty much kept most of that same core. And overall, I just don't think there are any other teams in the AFC West that can compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'll throw that same question out to you, CJ. Do you kind of agree with the same thing? Chiefs run the AFC West for probably the 6th straight year ever since Peyton Manning retired?
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, they just have a really good team over there, great team. Like you said, all the accolades and stats, accomplishments that they've had these past 3 seasons since Mahomes taking the helm. Chargers, everybody has them as their, AFC sleeper team. Can't even call them a sleeper anymore because everybody picks the Chargers now. So everybody should just say they're going to be a wild card team and not a sleeper because everybody picks them. So because Herbert had a special season. They brought in Brandon Staley, defensive-minded head coach. So we'll see if that defense has improved. They got some talented guys over there, Joey Bosa, Derwin James as well. So coming back, being healthy finally, so we can see him at full strength. Broncos, I think people, you want to talk about a sleeper. I think some people are really sleeping on the Broncos. I think they have a really solid roster over there. I think they have some talented wide receivers, really good tight end, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler. Noah Fant at tight end, Melvin Gordon at running back. Again, another guy. Just a couple years ago, people were putting him in that top 5 running back discussion, top 6, top 7 running back discussion. He's there in Denver now. Teddy Bridgewater, he's good. He's not great. He does. He's not gonna be a guy that's gonna throw for 30, 35 touchdowns. But I think at this point, in terms of in order for Vic Fangio to keep his job, probably wanted to go with the safe guy under center, which is why I think Teddy probably got the job over Drew Lock. Drew Lock is just probably a little too reckless for him in terms of turning the ball over. And since they want to be a run the ball defensive minded team, so I see why they went with Teddy. I think they have a really good roster. Von Miller coming back, Bradley Chubb, on those guys on the end. Patrick Surtain II looks solid as their rookie that they drafted last year. So I wouldn't look at that game as a cakewalk. In that division, and I wouldn't look at Las Vegas either. I mean, they were right there in that bubble in the playoff hunt last year. They kind of fell off towards the end. They could have been a 10-win team, but they fell off a little bit. Derek Carr is good. He's really good. It's just all the things around him just haven't been able to click. So we'll see what happens there. But I just feel like, again, Kansas City just too dominant.
I love the points that you mentioned too about the Chargers and the Raiders. I love that you also threw out the Raiders as well, just for the simple fact of it seems like every year, they miss the playoffs, But you see an improvement in win totals. Like they had 6 wins. They had 6 wins 3 years ago. They then improved to 7 wins. And then just this past season, they went from 7-9 to 8-8. Granted, they still missed the playoffs, but it's the baby step games, baby step increments that they're starting to get there. And for the Raiders, it's kind of in a way, they've started out hot the last 2 years, but they always seem to fall off. If they start off hot this year, can they keep it that way? Can they keep it straight? That'll be, in a way, the difference maker with the Raiders. And Anthony threw out Chargers for the playoffs. I wouldn't say it. This is my personal opinion. I would say not yet. I think the AFC is a little too tough for the Chargers. I do believe they have the capabilities to get there, but I think they'll fall just short of the playoffs. I think they'll fall a game short. And you also have to think, this is the Chargers. Chargers always find a way to have a hiccup game or lose a game where they're expected to win. I think one of those will happen, and that'll be the reason why they miss out on the playoffs. But they do have some good talent. But I just want to see if that boy Derwin James could stay healthy.
Facts.
That's what I have to see. I just have to see if he can stay healthy. And Cody, you could mention, wait, no, mess that up. I mean that's what you think. That's what you think. Ravens, Chargers, Pats. I think of it different, my friend. I think in the wild card, I think it's Browns, Patriots, Steelers. Sign me up for those. I'm taking those veteran playoff experience teams. I'd rather have those than a Chargers team. And I kind of want to know, Anthony, if you're still in the comments, why do you have the Chargers? Why do you think that the Chargers curse spell is finally over? It's Mike Tomlin. He'll find a way. He'll find a way to make the playoffs. Stop it. And then while Anthony stews up with the comments on why the Chargers will make the playoffs, which I personally think they won't. I think they'll miss the playoffs. Do you think they'll miss the playoffs as well, CJ?
I had them. Me and Connie talked about this a few months ago. Who could potentially get that spot? I picked the Chargers just because, again, they brought in a defensive-minded head coach, very talented guy coming from the Rams last year. You would just expect they'd make that next step. They had a lot of close games last year that they could have potentially won, but they weren't able to. So you would hope bringing in a defensive guy they could be able to get those stops, and then Herbert is going to continue to improve in year 2. They still have a lot of the weapons on that team is endless. They lost Hunter Henry, but they still have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler out the backfield. So and Herbert distributes it to everybody. That's what makes him so great, even just being so young in his career. So I agree with most people who say that they're gonna make that next step and get to the playoffs. I think it's very possible. And they gave Kansas City a run for their money too in those 2 games. They lost both of those games were very competitive. So I would have that. I got the Ravens, Pats, and the Chargers. Same thing. It's kind of the line. Yep.
He does make some great points there, but the key is Derwin James. That's the key. Because if he could stay healthy, Anthony, you make some great compelling points. It all makes sense. And then of course throws him the come on, son. But hey, until the Chargers prove me wrong that they can get over their choking ways, I'm still gonna have them missing the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, kudos to the Chargers. They prove me wrong. But if they miss the playoffs, don't say I told you so. With that being said, let's move on to the NFC side of things and the NFC Division Predictions. And we'll start off with the NFC North. I feel like you and I could both agree on this one. Obviously, I'm going to be a homer, ride with my team, the Green Bay Packers. But I also just think it simply makes the most sense. Rodgers is back probably for his final year in a Green Bay Packers uniform, and the Packers are just simply the best formidable team in that division. Detroit Lions are going through a rebuild. The Chicago Bears are still searching for their future quarterback. Could it be Justin Fields, or they're going to ride with Andy Dalton? And then with the Minnesota Vikings, it's just simply you have Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. What's really going to happen? Like, your defense is on and off. Your offense, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen, you got Dalvin Cook. The offense looks good. But in a way, it's kind of like it almost reminds me of the Tennessee Titans of the NFC. You have a solid offense where your defense is very suspect. And you also kind of have a so-so head coach, a head coach that could be on the hot seat this year if the Vikings don't get it done. So I just simply think, for the fact of the matter that the Packers are just simply the more formidable team in the NFC North. I mean, we're talking one of the teams to beat in the NFC. Like, this is a Packers squad that's gone to the NFC Championship game back-to-back years. Granted, they broke my heart and lost the last 2 times, but they've gotten there, so they know how to get it done. And I just simply think in that division, you have Rodgers there, and their next best quarterback in that division is maybe Kirk Cousins.
Right now,
like Anthony mentioned. Come on, son. It has to be the Green Bay Packers without a doubt. I'll throw out that same thing to you, CJ. Do you also agree Packers run the North, especially with Rodgers returning?
100%. Stuff is going to be. I don't see any other team making it really competitive. Kirk Cousins just. He is what he is. He is what he is. I'll just put it that way. They have some talented guys, like you said, on offense. Defensively, yeah, it's a question mark. A few years ago, they had a really good defense. Got them to that NFC Conference Championship game, if I believe, and they had that miraculous play with Stephon Diggs against the Saints, and then ever since then, it's kind of been trending backwards. They still have Eric Kendricks, still one of the top linebackers in the NFL. Danielle Hunter, top pass rusher. Harrison Smith just got the bag extension. So they have talent on that side, but collectively, it just hasn't been able to work out. So until I see that, it's tough for me to really put them in a competitive state against a team like Green Bay. Zarius Smith, Preston Smith, Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, the rookie that you guys drafted. So playing some really good ball as well. So it's just going to be tough out. And Justin Fields, we'll see what Chicago does. I feel like he's probably going to play. And he's going to play. Andy Dalton's he's a good player. I mean, he's solid. You know what I'm saying? He's solid. Mm-hmm. But those fans, man, they're going to want to see Fields, man. And Nagy's just going to have to put up a package together for Fields if he doesn't feel like he hasn't really grasped the playbook yet. It's your job to make sure you're creating plays for all your guys on your team to succeed. So that's what he's going to have to do with Justin Fields until he's able to fully grasp the offense, fully grasp everything in the playbook. You definitely can do some things. His ability to move and run, do some RPOs. Going to have a spread offense. It's not like they don't have a reliable guy on the outside. They have Allen Robinson. He catches everything from anybody, from a good quarterback to a trash quarterback. He always catches the football. So you could always count for him to get, multiple triple-digit receptions and 1,000 yards. So, we'll see when that happens. I think, I looked at their schedule. I want to say maybe week 3, if that. We'll probably see Fields, but after that, Lions rebuild. It's just like there's no other way to put that one.
There definitely isn't any way. It's just simply the Lions. The main hype that they got is Motor City Dan Campbell. And fellow Unwrapped member Corey throws in Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions. In that order, Packers easy. I kind of follow along that same line as well. And it's just simply just the way how teams are built. And I think Corey also mentions a great point of Kirk Cousins is an above-average quarterback, both roster of Minnesota and the roster of Green Bay. It's just not comparable. And it's just simply true. I mean, you look at both rosters. I mean, one roster, the Green Bay Packers, it's ready to compete for a Super Bowl and possibly even win one if all things go well. Meanwhile, Minnesota's roster is more along the lines of the Tennessee Titans. A great to fantastic offense, but a very, very suspect defense that can either be good or it could be very horrendous. Very horrendous. So with that being said, let's move on to the next division, the NFC. A lot of people call it the NFC least, but it's really called the NFC East. And I want to start off first by saying in the NFC East, I'm buying the hype train. How about them Cowboys? Give me them boys. to win this division. I think it's time. Dak Prescott's coming. I don't care what his shoulder situation is looking like. I just think the Cowboys are just simply the Cowboys are simply they're the best formidable team in that division. I know Washington's got a solid defense, but other than that, it's pretty wide open. With the Giants, it is one of the biggest toss-ups we've ever seen. The Giants are either going to be a team to where they could really make a run and possibly make the playoffs if Daniel Jones turns out well, or they could be another 5-6 win team. It's just that simple. There's no other way to put it. And then the Eagles, they're a dumpster fire. They're horrendous. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, which I'll discuss later on in this episode. I just simply think Dallas Cowboys win this division. I think it makes the most sense. Dak Prescott has his money. And I also think this is also the season of where Mike McCarthy has to prove his coaching job. A lot of Mike McCarthy, a lot of people are kind of starting to see, like, is Mike McCarthy really a good coach, or was it just simply based off the fact of Aaron Rodgers? Because when McCarthy was in Green Bay, they had a lot of success. They won a Super Bowl, made 8 straight playoff appearances. But when Rodgers went down, the whole Packers team sunk with it. There wasn't anything. And now we're kind of starting to see him, the kind of season Mike McCarthy had with the Cowboys last year, and how the Packers have looked without Mike McCarthy. Without Mike McCarthy, the Packers have made it to back-to-back NFC Championship games and are 26-6. Mike McCarthy in his first year in those same 2 years didn't have a head coaching job, and then 6-10. That's a bad look. That's not a good look if you're Mike McCarthy, because the resume shows Super Bowl champion, 8 straight playoff appearances. That's a good resume as a head coach. But when your QB is Aaron Rodgers, that's the expectation.
Right.
It's about what you do without him, and without him, he's looked more like Big Mac than Mike McCarthy. This has to be the year to where Mike McCarthy has to get his swagger back. As they say in the meme, I got my swagger back. He needs to get this mojo back, and I think this could be the year where he does. He has a full off season. He has his quarterback, Dak Prescott. They have a loaded offense. I wouldn't be shocked if Ezekiel Elliott has a bounce-back season. And their defense, it's going to be very on and off. But I think if Dak Prescott can stay healthy and continue his offensive season, I feel like they have the best chance to make the playoffs. But if they miss the playoffs, McCarthy's going to be out the door right away. I kind of want to hear what – I mean, I pretty
Jerry Jones gave Jason Garrett the longest leash ever.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Jason Garrett was a former quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
That's
true. Mike McCarthy, he has no recollection of anything with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it also depends on the head coaching vacancies. If Jerry Jones sees a guy that he likes besides McCarthy after this year, he might go for it. But if he does, but that means, I mean, I'm talking if Lincoln Riley decides I'm leaving Oklahoma, then you'll snag him up. But if he doesn't see any good head coaching vacancies, then yeah, McCarthy will probably stay. But a lot of McCarthy's reputation has taken some hits. I mean, you look at, like I mentioned earlier, last 2 years, Packers have seemed to do better without him than with him. And then he seems to be doing worse without Rodgers. So this has to be the year where you could say, you know what? I am a good coach in this league. I'm not just a guy who relied on Rodgers. I'm actually a good head coach. So that's why I'm saying the Cowboys, I think they have to win the division. They have to get the job done. And they're the best team to do it. I want to hear what you have to say, CJ. On the NFC East, who do you believe will win that division?
I got it. Dallas. Man, it's tough. It's tough between the Giants and you just like you said, you just don't know, man. They're the biggest. Yeah, I got it that way as well, Corey, honestly. But I just feel like the Giant, Daniel Jones, could figure it out. Because even though the Giants weren't great last year, they still definitely they beat the Washington football team. I believe twice, if I'm not mistaken. So if he could be that consistent guy, just just don't turn the ball over. Just minimize the turnovers. Saquon coming back. Exactly, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's going to come down to the two quarterbacks over there. You could say you trust Fitzpatrick more, but that's not saying much because again, that's another guy. He's very hit or miss. He's been hit and miss his entire career. So Jones just has to protect the ball, give the rock to Saquon. I'm gonna say Dallas, Giants, Washington football team, and then I know my guy EJ is probably gonna hate me, but I'm gonna go with Philadelphia, man, for that lad. I just don't see enough. They're bringing some guys back. Jalen Hurts. Well, it's a big question. He's kind of in the same boat as Tua. Him and Tua are like in the same. It's crazy. They come to the league and now they got the same situation circling around them in terms of their career. That team's also probably in the line and potentially trying to get Deshaun Watson as well. So I just don't see them winning enough games over there in Philadelphia this season. Washington, great defense, really good run game. Ron Rivera's been a very highly successful head coach since his days in Carolina. I just don't know Fitzpatrick, man. I mean, I don't know. Are we going to get Fitzpatrick of last year when he was really good? And, everybody was like, why did they take him out for Tua? Or are we going to get, multiple interceptions in the game, Fitzpatrick? Because if he's the latter, then it negates having a good defense if he's giving the ball back to the offense so many other times. So I'm gonna say Giants, but it's gonna be close. It's close between those two teams. I think again they beat Washington football team twice without Saquon. So now you bring Saquon to the fold. Kenny Golladay should be healthy, but his health was a concern when he was in Detroit. So if he can stay healthy, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, hold on to the rock, catch the football. He still has a lot of talent. He just went down with that calf injury against the Patriots in the preseason game. So we'll see if he can stay healthy. They brought in Kyle Rudolph kind of as an insurance guy, really good guy in the red zone, really solid blocking tight end. So I'm gonna go with that list right there. Dallas, you would hope so. I mean, this should be a division they should definitely own, especially if a team like Philadelphia doesn't acquire, or any of these teams don't try to acquire a top, a Deshaun Watson or something like that later on. They have the best quarterback in the division, top two running back in the division, him and Saquon. Receiving core, best receiving core. I mean, Gallup, CD, Amari Cooper, it's just right up there. No excuses at all, man. Defensively, I mean, I didn't really get to see them in preseason. I think they lost all their games in the preseason, but they didn't really play a lot of guys. Micah Parsons looks really good. He could be a guy that can really make some noise, even his rookie season, essentially the defensive rookie of the year candidate over there for him. But yeah, this is it, man. Dallas winning.
It definitely is, and we got the man, the myth, the legend, Perry in the comment section saying Dallas division this year. They better, Perry, because I know for sure if they don't get it done this year, you might get hammered. You might get hammered in the comment section.
Yeah, that chat, man. That chat's gonna be.
That's for sure. They only need to be league average on defense. I personally agree with that said statement as well. I also want to throw in a earlier comment. What a funny coincidence of your name being a lifelong Packers fan, James Jones. What a funny coincidence. He's a long-time Packers fan. He hasn't liked McCarthy for a long time. Makes a lot of bad decisions, both in personal and play calling. I personally agree with that. There have been some questionable games that I see from Mike McCarthy. Kind of wondering, what are we doing? Like I'll never forget 2018, 4th and 2 against the Seahawks. You're playing Russell Wilson, and you decide to punt it with 4 minutes left. What? Why'd you do that? Why? And then we never get the ball back, and we lose. And it's like, oh, why do we get the ball back? Playing Russell Wilson, what you expect? But yeah, with that being said, so do you
about the floor, man? Hopefully that doesn't catch up to him, man.
Hey, don't disrespect my boy. Don't disrespect my boy on the floor. This is only his second. Yeah. CJ, this is only his second year. This is only his second year. Mike McCarthy was in year 13. You'd think by your 13th year as a head coach, hey, I got Rodgers. Yeah, he may be on one knee, but this Aaron Rodgers. I'm going for it on a 4th and 2. Matt LaFleur's Matt LaFleur's got a big learning curve. His first 2 years have been very impressive. Back-to-back NFC Championship games, 13-3. Should he have gone for it on fourth down? Absolutely, he should have. Because when you verse the GOAT, Tom Brady, you got to give every chance you got.
It's the same thing.
But
situational football.
Hey, you know what? You live and you learn. I'd rather give LaFleur a pass for a second year than a guy who's in year 13 and already has a Super Bowl and it's been in the playoffs many years to just this is punting away here. Especially when it's just one of those like, come on, dude, you're in year 13. Granted, this guy's in year 2. He learned the hard way on why you don't give Brady the ball when you're down. He learned the hard way. But hey, you know what? He learned. Hopefully he bounces back this year with a fantastic outing. Just to clarify, do you still have the Cowboys win the division, or are you riding with the Giants?
No, I got Dallas. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because you made some talking points where I thought, is he really leaning on the Giants?
No. I'm saying
it's
a big year for Daniel. It's a big year for Daniel Jones. 100%, man. If he doesn't get it together, they will look elsewhere via trade or draft. So
I think they'll look for a trade.
The talent is there on both sides of the football. So it's going to come down to him protecting the football. Like the turnovers he's had in his first 2 years, you can't do that. You can't do it, man. Especially as being the guy under center. You're turning the ball over like that. So it's a big year for him, man. For real.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And this division, the NFC South, I think it's going to be a no-brainer for you and I both. Tampa Bay Buccaneers easily going to win this division. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They're the most formidable team in that division. And Corey throws in I like Joe Judge, but Garrett is not it.
That's a good point.
I could agree with that.
Right there with you, man.
I agree with that. And then the NFC South, it's pretty much Tampa's division to lose. I mean, the Saints, they had their chance the last 4 years to try and get it done in the NFC South, to try to give Drew Brees that final title, that final send-off. And they simply couldn't get it done because of a simple playoff meltdown after playoff meltdown.
Tough.
And it's just the Saints before last year had 3 very good opportunities to go on a deep playoff run. They had 2017, the Minneapolis Miracle. All Williams has to do is tackle him in bounds, and who knows what happens. Now, could we say the Saints win the Super Bowl 52? No, because the Eagles won a Cinderella run that year. The underdog story was there, but it would have given an opportunity for the Saints to get there. The opportunity was there. Now, 2018, that has to be the biggest missed opportunity of all time. You get the miss no call, which is one of the worst no miss calls we've ever seen. But you also have to look at the defense let Drew Brees down once again. You mean to tell me with 50 seconds left, up 3, your defense can't get the job done? But that's just the first time. And then on top of that, a lot of people forget the Saints had the ball first. You had your Hall of Fame quarterback with the ball first, and what happens? He gets hit as he's thrown, pass picked, and then somehow, someway, Greg Zuerlein kicks a 56-yard field goal. Now, people blame the refs, but you also got to throw in the fact the Saints had 2 opportunities to get the job done, and they failed to get it done. And then, of course, they have another meltdown against Minnesota. At home, too. This time it wasn't at Minneapolis. On your home turf, you lose 26-20 in overtime. That was no excuse. Now, to be honest, you weren't going.
That was a heartbreaker.
That was a heartbreaker. But if we're being honest here, that year you were not going through Green Bay or San Francisco that year. If we're being quite honest here, Drew Brees in the frozen tundra snow would not have gotten it done. But just those 2 years and those missed opportunities. And then even last year against Tampa Bay, you're up 10-6. You're controlling the game. And then Drew Brees' arm just ran out of gas. Too many turnovers. I believe he had 2 interceptions, then a fumble. And Drew Brees was simply out of gas. As you guys know, he retired in the offseason. And, it's just hard looking at the Saints, man, because they had their chances, they had their opportunities, and they just let it slip. And now it's just simply Tampa's division because no other team is going to compete with Tampa, and I think Corey has this perfectly lined up. He has the Bucs first, Saints second, Atlanta third, Carolina fourth. I could see that. I mean, I personally agree with you as well, CJ. I kind of have it to where Panthers third, Falcons fourth, but just by a hair.
Right, yeah, it's not it.
Man, it's just you just hate to see it just because obviously, like for Tampa, it's good for Tampa because they've been the playoff dwellers for years. Like before last year, they hadn't made the playoffs in 13 years. It was a struggle. They were looking for a quarterback. They thought they had their guy in Josh Freeman. He just wasn't it. They then have Jameis Winston. They then have Jameis Winston. They think he's the guy. He looks promising, and then he goes 30 for 30. Then I like Atlanta more than most. I think you have a good point there, Corey, especially because with how good their offense looks. Like with Matt Ryan, with Kyle Pitts and the hype that he's getting, and Calvin Ridley. It makes sense, especially with him being the defensive coordinator and Arthur Smith as the head coach. Atlanta has an interesting future because they could either hit it off running or they could dip down real quick. But then, just with Tampa Bay before last year, all the hardships, you finally get Brady, and then, of course, you add Gronkowski, you add Fournette, add Antonio Brown, win the Super Bowl, and then you bring that same team back. It's going to be hard to pick somebody else besides the Buccaneers. Now let's get down to the final division in the NFC. The toughest division in all of football, the NFC West. Every team in that division has made a big move, whether it's the Niners trading up to get Trey Lance, the Los Angeles Rams getting Matthew Stafford in the offseason, the Seattle Seahawks extending Jamal Adams. Some people call him Blitz Boy. Others just simply say Jamal Adams. Blitz Boy. And then the Arizona Cardinals. Every single team in that division is making money moves, making fire moves. And I want to throw it out to you, CJ. In the toughest division in all of football, who wins the NFC West? Here's what Corey has to say in his division rankings.
NFC Seahawks, Niners, Cards.
Who do you have?
Go with the Rams. Man. I can't count on Russell Wilson, man. I'm going to go with obviously, I probably have it similar to like Corey has it. I don't know Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona. Defensively, how much have they changed? I know they brought J.J. Watt in, Chandler Jones coming back. At back end, Buda Baker, all-pro safety, excellent safety. Just don't know about their corners that well. I think you have Murphy is another guy in that secondary who's pretty good. It's just a tough division, man. They don't run the ball too well over there, and I think those three teams in front of them run the ball exceptionally well. Chris Carson coming back for Seattle, Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I'm gonna just go. Obviously, Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the division, but I feel like the Rams have the best team. So I'll go Rams, Seattle, 49ers, and Arizona, man. That's probably how I'd have it. I think the Rams, they finally got a guy that can push the ball down the field, make plays. Matthew Stafford, big seasons for Stafford. Now he has a really good team around him on both ends. No excuses. It's a big year, but it's no excuses for him. Right away, it should be a playoff type team. They got to win that division. They got to get a playoff berth, 100%. Even though it's a tough division, they got top. What was he rated? Number 2 in top NFL top 100. And Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey was top 10 if I'm not mistaken. So top 15 is a top 12, 13, something like that. But he's the best corner, the highest rated corner out of the top 100 players in the NFL. Yes, they lost Cam Akers. They got my guy Sony Michel there now. I think that's going to be a really good fit for him. Henderson, I think he has a thumb injury, but he should be ready to go soon. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's how I got it. I got Rams, Seahawks, Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's good. He has a winning record, just can't stay healthy. I don't know. He just can't stay healthy. They have a really good team over there as well. It's going to be a tough team, man. I don't see any. It's going to be one of those 10-7, 9-8. You know, it's going to be like by at least a game or so between those top three teams. In Arizona, again, like I said, Kyler's going to have a special year. He's going to put up the numbers, but I just don't know how many W's they could get. I mean, despite having a lot of talent over there as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Perry, in the comment section, he threw in the Seahawks winning the division, which is a hot take. He then has Rams, 49ers, Cardinals. So it's going to be very interesting there. Shout out Pops in the comments, says the 49ers going to win the division. I'll get to mine because I might agree as well. Corey says he's out on the Cardinals. Butler retired. And then on top of that, I think makes a great point there, saying Trey Lance does not play well. If the Niners play well, which I coincidentally think makes the most sense, and then I think the main question mark for the Rams, like Corey mentioned as well, is will Stafford have a Carson Palmer-like revitalization? I kind of think so, especially with how good Sean McVay is as a head coach. I think he'll revitalize himself a little bit. Then we have James Jones as well, saying a tough division. I could see all four teams with the potential of 10-plus wins. They definitely do have the potential to
definitely.
Each of them get the top 10. I have my list. I mean, I remember earlier in one of the hard count episodes when we were talking about the NFC West division on who would win it, I was very high on the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to roll with the San Francisco 49ers winning the division. I truly believe they have the talent to. I mean, you got Jimmy Garoppolo who's fully healthy. What happened last time when Jimmy Garoppolo was fully healthy? They went on and made it to Super Bowl 54 when he was fully healthy. So far, Jimmy Garoppolo looks very healthy. They still have that same defense. They are healthy. They're back. The offense still looks good. They even added, Brandon Ayuk, who had a solid rookie year. I think the 49ers are going to be a team to where they get back to form. They truly show why they were an NFC Super Bowl representative 2 years ago. And I think they're going to be a tough team. And I'm also a big believer in point star Jimmy. I think he's good. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think he's going to stay fully healthy. And I think Trey Lance is going to sit back and learn what it's like to be a pro quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, what it's like to not turn the ball over and not be a liability. Because like CJ mentioned earlier, it's all about Garoppolo's health. If he can stay healthy, the Niners are going to go far. But if he's injury prone, banged up, then it's going to be an interesting season.
Because he's the fourth best quarterback on the team. I mean, on the division.
Yeah, I was going to say, that makes more sense. I was about to say, damn, CJ, fourth best on the team?
Nah. But in the division, he's definitely the fourth best guy. So, but Kyler, is just so many questions over there, like with Arizona. Defensively, can they get hot at the right time? 49ers, their identity, the way they play, it fits them to win 10-plus games. But Garoppolo could potentially be a guy that could hold them back. Now bringing Stafford in, Stafford's top 10 guy in that top 10 category for sure. Some people have him as a top 10 quarterback, and then Russell Wilson, we already know about him. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Like I said with the AFC North, man, it's going to be a high competition, man. Definitely try to catch all those games, see how they play.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is going to be tough. With that being said, let's move on to what I call the QB1s in the NFL season. As maybe you guys may know, this is the time to where the 53-man roster gets set in stone and the QB1s get announced. As we know, some of the teams have no-brainer QB1s. The Josh Allens, the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady, the Patrick Mahomes. But we're going to focus on the QB1s who were very tossed up. We didn't know who was going to be the QB1 until now. And some of the teams that I will highlight are as followed. The Denver Broncos, as you know, they named their starting quarterback, and it was Teddy Bridgewater. CJ, you mentioned earlier saying the Broncos made the right decision going with the veteran QB. Do you think Denver will regret it? going with Teddy Bridgewater over the younger guy in Drew Lock?
I'm not too sure. I feel like they have an identity on how they want to play this year. Big Fangio, defense, run the football, and you probably want to have a guy under center that just doesn't make too many mistakes. And they probably felt like last year, even though Drew Lock wasn't healthy last year, I think he had the AC shoulder injury. But I feel like they probably went with the safer route. Teddy, doesn't push the ball down the field, as well as Drew Lock. Drew Lock's obviously more talented when it comes to arm talent. Teddy Two Gloves, yes sir, yeah. It's a good year. This is a good team for Teddy. It's probably like the best team he's had, and as a starter.
It sure is. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, he played. Yeah, he was efficient last year, and they didn't even have McCaffrey for Carolina. So, this is a nice team. It's a nice team for him, man. I'm glad he's getting an opportunity. He gets to show that he could be a guy that could be there for the maybe foreseeable future. Who knows? If he really plays well and he makes some noise in a tough division like we talked about with Kansas City being the top dogs. But I agree with that move. But Fangio, his job's on the line. I mean, 2 losing seasons back to back as being head coach, and Chargers usurped them with the emergence of Justin Herbert, and we already know about the Chiefs. So I'm pretty sure he wants to go with a safer guy, and with the rest of the talent, Teddy doesn't have to do too much, man. Just put the ball in an area so they can catch it and get it going. Jerry Jeudy have a really good second year. Noah Fant, really talented guy. Colin Sutton coming off the ACL, so it's not like he has to do everything. Teddy doesn't have to do everything for this team. Just get the playmakers the ball and let them do the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you as well. I think Denver made a good decision. I think you go with the guy who doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Drew Lock was kind of a guy to where, he's a hella good rapper. You have him singing Jeezy and Put On. You could go that route, but I just think from a QB perspective, Teddy Bridgewater was more the safe choice. And you were right, CJ. With Vic Fangio having 2 back-to-back losing seasons, his job on the line. He's not going to throw in a reckless guy in Drew Lock who can either be really good or really bad. He wants the safer route. Teddy Bridgewater, not going to turn the ball over a lot and be safe with it. And Corey mentions the pass defense for the Broncos get one of the easiest this year, and plus getting Rodgers next year. Hey, that's still up for debate, my friend. Last I checked, Rodgers, he's still in a Green Bay uniform. Could it be his last year? Possibly, but he's still in the green and gold.
Man, that division, man. Woo.
Yeah, that division would be fire. You would have. Can you imagine Mahomes, Rodgers, and Herbert, and Derek Carr?
I don't want to imagine it as a Pats fan. I want us to get in the playoffs. I don't want to do that's you could honestly book 2 or 3 teams to make that division for the next 3 years or so.
Hey, you as a Pats fan, it's like Roger, stay in Green Bay, please. Just stay there.
Yeah. Just stay over there, man.
Just stay over there. And then another team that I would love to highlight, who's their QB1, which I'm ecstatic for, the New Orleans Saints. Famous Jameis. Crab Legs Winston. Mr. Eaton W's. Jameis Winston is the QB1 for the New Orleans Saints. And a new era has begun in New Orleans. CJ, did they make the right choice with Jameis Winston being named QB1?
Yeah, of course. Of course. He played that Monday Night Football game against Jacksonville. That put the nail in the coffin right there, 100%. 2 touchdowns, played well, really efficient, checking the ball down, making smart reads, understanding, yes, I have a big arm, but sometimes it's about, again, taking the short routes, checking those check down routes first, letting that open up to the big play. He can push the ball down the field, and that's what they did. And Alvin Kamara is going to give him the rock. He's going to be a premier focus, premier back in that offense. Sucks, with everything that's going on with Ida over there in Louisiana. So I'm not sure about the home games for the beginning of the season and things like that. But for Jameis to get another opportunity, it's big time for him. Definitely, this is a clear opportunity for him to keep that job as well. If they start to make some noise, he starts to play really well. He can potentially keep that job. He's 26, 27. I think he's 27. So, he's still a young guy. And, yes, he's nicknamed 30 for 30, but he did throw for 5,000 yards that season, which led the NFL.
And,
you could say that were catch-up
33
yards.
touchdowns.
Yeah, and 33 touchdowns, right, exactly. You could say those were, catch-up yards, but, throwing for 5,000 yards is not an easy thing to do. It doesn't matter whether you're playing catch-up or not. So, he has the talent. It's just about he didn't really have the structure and stability at coaching. He had Arians for just one season. Now he gets a guy like Sean Payton. Now he gets a guy. We'll see what happens with Mike Thomas. I know he'll probably be back week 7.
Yeah.
And they need some of those other guys. Yeah, he's on the PUP. So they're going to need some of those other guys on the outside to step up and make some plays for him and take some of the pressure a little bit off Kamara too, so they won't let off the box. But I'm happy for Jameis gets the opportunity. And Taysom Hill, get those little packages here and there. Keep the defense honest. He'll come in there, make some plays, pass the ball, catch the ball, do things like that. More of a gadget guy, which is what's been his style, since he's been in New Orleans. So I'm happy for Jameis, man.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you as well. I think this is the right choice made by the New Orleans Saints. I think it was the right choice from the start. I knew between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, you're going to have Jameis Winston as a QB1 from the start. And it all showed in the playoff game. When they played Tampa, who threw the flea flicker touchdown pass? It was Jameis Winston. It was not Taysom Hill. And that's, in my opinion, is what set the deal. And you also saw, like you mentioned, CJ, that Monday night game and when they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jameis having those 2 perfect throws to Callaway, where they're just right on the money. Yeah, he made sick one-handed catches, but that's all because the QB threw it right on the money, threw it on a dime. It was phenomenal. I'm glad he gets to start, but I also just hope that Jameis looks poised and doesn't make the same mistakes he made in Tampa, because this is it. If he fails as a starter in New Orleans, he won't be a starter in the NFL. He's going to be a backup guy. So I just think hopefully he keeps us up. He keeps up the good success rate. And, just hopefully them as a team, they just keep on getting better. And another team that I want to throw out with them having a QB1, which I believe personally makes the most sense, is I'll have to look and find it. I'll even throw out another team as well. With the Houston Texans, right now, Deshaun Watson, he's on the 53-man roster, but they're going to have him as inactive. And you'll most likely see Tyrod Taylor be the QB1 starter in Houston. What is your expectations for Tyrod Taylor when he's the QB1?
Not much. Just because the roster around him isn't too great. Who's their starting wide receivers over there? Tight ends, running backs. They got David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, and Mark Ingram. So again, those are really good big names, but those guys really haven't produced over the last couple seasons. So they just don't have the talent, man. And Tyrod is he's been a journeyman quarterback ever since he left Baltimore when he started his career. He's a good guy, good leader. He's going to get those guys ready to go, and it just turns to them winning games, like we talked about when we broke down the division winners. I just don't see it happening for him. But he gets another opportunity to, maybe get a shot somewhere else. Yeah, it's a lot of guys. Hopefully, Phillip Lindsay ends up being that guy, man, for fantasy reasons. But but in that backfield, but. Yeah, tough. Tyrod, opportunity for him again to maybe. Who knows, man? Who knows what can happen, man? Who knows what can happen in this league, man? Injuries happen all the time, and who knows? He could potentially get a spot somewhere else down the road next year or something like that. He could, try to fill in, be a backup, or another bridge quarterback on a potentially good team where they need a guy to just kind of like Bridgewater, just not make the mistakes and play it safe. So this year, man. Tough, but at least he's playing in the league.
Exactly. At least he's playing in the league, and I personally
shout out Cam, man. Damn, man.
shout out Cam, man. That's tough. Hey, like they say, what's Cam backwards?
Oh man, yeah, it's Mack, man.
It's Mack, dude. And I mean, for Tyrod Taylor in Houston, I mean, I feel bad for him, but he's the QB1 starter. Hopefully, he just stays consistent. Hopefully, he doesn't get punctured in the lung by a doctor again, like what happened in Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Davis Mills comes out. That would be crazy.
Yeah, Davis Mills comes out. Hey, we want Tyrod Taylor to be healthy. We don't want no undercover operation by Justin Herbert to get him to be a starter.
Incredible.
We don't want that to have happen to him. And hopefully, he sets up his play well to where he could be a backup on a different team.
Right.
That's personally what we want out of Tyrod Taylor. With that being said, let's move on to another QB that was on the move. Gardner Minshew to Philadelphia. Minshew Mania in Duval, the Florida man of all. He's gone from Jacksonville, and he's in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But I throw that out there as a simple question to you, CJ. With this move, are they concerned that Jalen Hurts isn't ready, or do they just want him to be their backup QB? Because they also have another quarterback there as a backup. His name is Mr. Elite Joe Flacco. So I kind of asked the conversation of, are they concerned with Jalen Hurts?
Concerned? I don't know. I don't know about concerned, but I mean, nothing's given. They're not going to give him the keys to the franchise for the foreseeable future. He's going to have to earn that. Minshew, has had some success in this league, made some big plays in this league. So you want to have some competition there. Want to just pretty much reassure him that, listen, man, you can have all the talent in the world, but there's going to be a couple guys over your shoulder that have done some things in the league. So you're going to have to play well. And have a really good season for us to see that you're going to be our guy going forward. I still think he's better than both of those guys today, but he's going to have to show that on the field, and he's going to have to win some games that maybe they were expected to lose, and that's usually how it happens. Like, predicting certain games throughout the season, like, the Eagles are going to lose this game. He comes out have a really good game. And those type of games, some things like that, will look good for him in terms of resume, in terms of creating a narrative that he could potentially be that guy, and look good for Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, up there at the top in the front office, and Nick Sirianni as well. I mean, Nick Sirianni's a rookie head coach. There's a lot of questions for him as well. So Minshew, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm like, okay, all right, cool. You're gonna bring an extra guy in there. That's kind of he's immobile a little bit, can roll out the pocket, do some certain things, but and obviously I think Nick Sirianni's seen Minshew being in Indianapolis for a couple of years, so he's seen him a little bit. Felt like he was potentially be a good part of the team, but man, just keep your head down. If I'm hurt, just keep your head down, man. Keep working, and it doesn't matter what happens. Like I said, they're in there running for Watson as well, but just keep on working, man. I mean, he continues to improve. He got better. A lot of questions about him when he came out of Alabama. Accuracy, could he be a quarterback? Should change positions. Then he went to Oklahoma, had a really good season, and now he's in Philadelphia with opportunity to be the guy. So I hope it works out for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope it works out for Philadelphia as well. I kind of find this move just a little interesting, just because you already have Joe Flacco there, you have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Flacco's like in the Brian Hoyer stage.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see it as well. I kind of see it as one of those where Jalen Hurts, he's obviously going to be QB1. I don't think Minshew will go in there and take a spot.
Right.
But I think it'll be one of those to where the leash might be a little bit shorter for Jalen Hurts, especially because we saw Minshew. He's had some flashes. Right. And by that, I mean only a 2-2 start with Jacksonville, and that was it. And then you got Joe Flacco as well, who, like you mentioned, CJ's in the Brian Hoyer stage, where he's pretty much done everything he could as a starter and it's just pretty much a backup role. I don't think it'll amount to anything. I still think Jalen Hurts will be the guy there. I just simply think it'll be one of those to where they're going to look at his mistakes a lot more just because of all the drama that happened. Them moving on from Carson Wentz, them kind of throwing the last game of the season away. You didn't even see Hurts go in. You kind of see how he looked in the preseason. He looks very on and off. Could be shaky at times, could be good at times, kind of on and off. We'll see the kind of performance Jalen Hurts has. And to close out this episode of The Hard Count, we have our final topic of discussion. That is the top 100 players list. And I cut it into, did they get the top 10 players in the top 100 list correct? And I'll throw this out to you, CJ. This was the top 10 players list for the top 100, number 10 through 1. They have Josh Allen at number 10, T.J. Watt at number 9, DeAndre Hopkins number 8, Tom Brady number 7, Devontae Adams number 6, Travis Kelce number 5, Derrick Henry number 4, Aaron Rodgers, the MVP, number 3, Aaron Donald 2, and Patrick Mahomes number 1. Did they get the top 10 list correct, or were there some things that you kind of question?
Only thing I'd probably change is I'd probably swap Devontae and Travis Kelce. That's it. Everything else looked pretty good. Mahomes, it was time for him to get that number 1 spot. I remember last year when Lamar got it, he put the little emoji out, the notepad, noted, okay, cool, that's cool. But you gotta, he's been a top guy. Personally, I still feel like until Brady retires, he's gonna be number 1 to me, just because he's the GOAT, still playing.
Yeah,
but
and he gifted you 6 rings.
Yeah, exactly. For my favorite team, exactly. So, it's good. Great memories with Tom. But, Mahomes is definitely that guy right now. He does everything in the pocket, out the pocket, elite guy. Aaron Donald, number 1. He was number 1 2 years ago. He's a beast. What he does in the 3 technique as a defensive tackle, it's crazy. It's crazy for him to continue to create pressure all this long. I remember watching him at Pitt when I was younger. And still dominant to this day. Excellent football player. Definitely top 2 player in the NFL. No doubt about it. Rodgers, that's 3 is cool. I know he won MVP. It's right there. I mean, it's won MVP, had a great season. But I think Mahomes and Aaron Donald just are better than him at this stage in terms of position and their ranking in their positions in the league. Yeah, and then after that, it looks pretty good, man. Other than that, I'd probably put Devontae at 5 and Kelce 6. That's about it. Josh Allen 10. Had an excellent season. That's fair. Everything else looks good. Derrick Henry 2,000-yard season, crazy. And what was he like? 8? You said 8?
Derrick Henry was number 4.
Oh, Derrick Henry was 4. Okay, so that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, I thought he was a little lower than that, but at 4, makes all the sense. Animal.
I personally think differently. I do believe they have the top 10 players correct.
Right.
But I just think there's some things that need to be tweaked up a little bit. I think, in my personal opinion, Josh Allen should be number 8, and then Hopkins 9, Watt 10. Just because of how well the quarterback, how important the QB position is in the NFL, and just how well Josh Allen played. Made it to the AFC Championship game, and he turned it around in year 3. He's only going to get better. He's only getting better from there. And I personally think they're still disrespecting Tom Brady. I don't know how you can say a QB that is 43, turning 44, he goes to a new team, didn't even have a full offseason, and wins ring number 7, and you don't have him in the top 5. I mean, that's just that's unacceptable.
It's Brady fatigue. It's Brady fatigue.
But what he was able to do was so impressive. You have to put him at 5. And I think Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce should each move back 1. Adams at 7, Kelce at 6, and then Brady at 5. But I do like where they're placed. Just because Devontae Adams, he is the best receiver in the league. And that's fact. I don't want to hear in the comment section DeAndre Hopkins is the best, because he's not the best. He's just not. It's just not true. Travis Kelce, on the other hand, though, he is the best tight end in all of football. We saw that last year. Granted, Kittle was hurt, but I think when you see those two healthy, you'll see why Kelce is most likely the best tight end in the NFL. Now, 4 through 1, I think you got pretty much for the most part correctly. I would put Brady 5, King Henry at 4, just because of the kind of season he had. What was it? The first 2,000-yard rusher since Adrian Peterson in 2012, 2013.
Yep.
So just that, and it was only a select few. He was only the 8th member in NFL history to select 2,000 to rush for over 2,000 yards, which makes sense. Obviously, I personally think Rodgers should be number 2, just number 2 or number 1, just because the MVP of the league this year, the kind of season that he had, I think should equate him at number 1. Because when Cam Newton won MVP, I think he was ranked number 1 in a top 100 list. And I just personally think Rodgers, he had a better season than Mahomes. He had more touchdowns. I mean, he basically did almost everything better than Mahomes, besides one of them going to the Super Bowl and the other one just falling short in the championship game. Aaron Donald, I mean, there really isn't anywhere else you could put Donald. 2, 3. I think they have him just right. Like, if you were to move him back, it would probably be to number 3. That's about it. Like, he's still top 5. And then Mahomes at number 1. I mean, it makes sense because he's kind of like the new face that everybody wants to look at in the NFL, the main prize guy. But I just simply think I from a perspective, look at it as a way of saying, like, in the top 100 players of 2021, the MVP just has to be number 1 because they're the MVP, the best player in the league. They just have to be number 1. I just think bar none just because of it. But that's just me. I mean, Rodgers top 3, I think it makes sense. Obviously, he shouldn't be any lower, but I think personally, and now a lot of people could say in the comment section, Matt, you're a pure homer, which could be accurate. You can make a case for that, but
no surprise there.
But that's just me. I just think he should have been 1, but I'm not mad at 3. At 3, it makes sense because Aaron Donald, man, he's just a beast, like you mentioned, CJ. As a defensive tackle, he puts up stats like he's an edge rusher. The stat line you see from Aaron Donald, if you were to show it to a casual fan who has no idea about football, he was like, "Oh, Aaron Donald, does he play defensive end or is he an edge rusher?" Like, nah, man, he's a D tackle, double team.
Trenches.
Exactly, in the trenches. You know, it's one of those where it's impressive to see. I love the top 10 list. I think they have the top 10 list correct. There really isn't anything I could do to change that. I like it. I like the top 10 list. Those are just the little things that, in a way, just the little things that I would pick apart. Just simply the little bit. You know, just little baby pieces that you could go, maybe, you know, number 7 should be number 5, number 3 should be number 1, just little things. But other than that, you know, that's pretty much about it. You know, the top 10 list, top 100 players, I think it's going to be great. You know, football season is around the corner. I mean, we're talking now single digit days, I believe, away from Thursday night football. I believe we're nearing 9 days till Thursday night football, where we got the Dallas Cowboys versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then just think, CJ, in less than 2 weeks, week 1 will be among us. You'll see Mac Daddy against Tua Tagovailoa. And then I'll get to see my boy Rodgers play the New Orleans Saints, not in New Orleans, but in a different location. Location still hasn't been found yet. We thought it was going to be in Dallas, but it could be somewhere else. We'll have to wait and see where that is. Overall, it's going to be an exciting season. That will conclude episode 41 of the Hard Count. I appreciate Ether Carboni for being on this episode while he was on. I appreciate you tuning in as well, CJ. And I also appreciate the people in the comment section for blowing up the comments. We really appreciate it when you guys do that. And before we go, I'd like to throw it out to you, CJ. Where can the viewers and the listeners of this episode check out all the great things that you do?
You can find me here. Coming back, making my return back to the Hard Count next week, next Tuesday. Coming back, talking football with my guy Connie before the season starts for that Bucs-Cowboys game. I'm going to break down all the week 1 matchups. So you can find me here at 9 o'clock Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday. Got a podcast covering basketball. Basketball is right around the corner. It's a perfect marriage, so I love the fall. Get both seasons at the same time going on. A little bit of playoff baseball too. So fall is the best season in my opinion. Birthdays during that time as well. So a little biased.
There we go. Living that CJ lifestyle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, I just started my gaming page, CJ versus the World Gaming. I'm going to start streaming very soon as well. Got Madden, 2K, a little bit of GTA, Call of Duty as well. So you can find me on those platforms on Twitch, CJ versus the World. You can find me here, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or the social media platforms for the Hard Count, Guard Up podcast, streaming on all platforms as well, man. So I'm glad to be back talking football with the guys.
Yeah, we definitely love to hear that. And all I gotta say is for the viewers out there, this guy's a killer on 2K. I saw him in one of his Instagram posts, just straight up end a man's career, dunking on him hard, dude. He's legit.
Man,
my Twitter handles are down below at Matt_Skura. Instagram I'm at _Skura20. And from there, I have a link in both of those bios where you could check out where me and my great friend Caleb Conant do MCS Real Sports Podcast. We talk all things sports related. You name it, it's available everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, it's available everywhere. And for those of you who'd like to tune in to the great stuff Ether Carboni does, tune in tomorrow for Saturday Standouts, where he talks all things college football related. And he also has a podcast called Creating Madness. Make sure you guys tune into that. As always, it was a great episode 41. For those of you guys who tuned in and are listening to this episode, I am Matt Skura. That is my great friend CJ to the right. We are signing off.
Catch you guys next